You are listening to the audio portion of the QB Power Hour webinar series, your biweekly dose of insights and learning for accounting professionals with co-host Dan DeLong and Sharon Fuller. We're here to explore the latest in the industry, QuickBooks, and integrations that matter to you. For more details on the series, visit qbpowerhour.com. But welcome to another QB Power Hour. Today we're going to be talking about Fishbowl's QuickBooks being an inventory boost to QuickBooks. It's the catch of the day. We'll be joined by some folks from Fishbowl to talk about their options. So first thing I want to know is the people that were in the waiting room. We tried to put the video that talks about the housekeeping and those types of things about the QA and the chat and those types of things. Did that play? That's what I want to know first before we get started, because I want to make sure that
no.
Bruce says no. Now, Bruce, did you get here 2 minutes prior to the start
Bruce,
of it?
How long you been hanging out in the waiting room, dude?
Yeah. Because if it just got here,
says no, Dad says no.
No, he was there 25 minutes ago. Oh my God, what is going on?
That's dedication. I wasn't even here 25 minutes before.
Yeah, that is great. That
Austin says yes.
Okay,
so I don't know, Austin, you might have been in the wrong room, bud, because it sounds like nobody else heard it.
Wonder. Okay, so we're still going to try to figure this out. So,
figure it out.
Since the video didn't play, if you have specific questions about the topics that we're talking about, please put them in the Q&A, especially if they're Fishbowl related, because we do have some extra folks from Fishbowl to help answer those questions. And it certainly is helpful when you have specific questions about what we're talking about to be able to follow up by putting that in the Q&A. If you have regular comments, color commentary going along with whatever Sharon happens to be talking about, please put those in the chat, right? And we're going to put the links there for the handouts for today, so you should be able to download those and keep copious notes. So, again,
copious, I like it.
Recognizing our spotlight sponsors, which is what keeps the QB Power Hour free to attend. Fishbowl is one of them, so we want to thank them for coming along for this journey. If you want to check out any of these, there's a link in the handouts, or you can scan the QR codes there as well. And of course, if you want to work with Sharon or myself without us interrupting each other over a 60-minute webinar, you're about to say something, Sharon, I know.
No, I was not going to interrupt you, sir.
You can check out our respective communities. I run School of Bookkeeping, and Sharon runs the Clone and Conquer. So we're all about cloning yourself or using technology to scale yourself and your practice. And I'm more about the efficiencies inside of QuickBooks so that you can gain more time that way. So Kendrick is joining us from Fishbowl. You have a long and storied history with Fishbowl. Kendrick, you want to introduce yourself and let the folks know who you are?
Yeah, thanks,
and
Dan.
Tell us what a chief evangelist is, because are you gonna preach some Fishbowl to us?
Dan did ask me if I needed to be ordained to that spot, and turns out you do. But
online, 20 minutes.
That's it. Well, actually, I got it done in about 16 minutes, Sharon. So pretty painless. Cost $10.18, but I got through it. It was great.
I like him.
I've been with Fishbowl for coming up on 20 years now. And if you would have told me 2 decades ago that inventory management and manufacturing was so compelling, I don't know that I would have believed it. But it's been really fun to just see how different businesses use Fishbowl and the complexities that they have. Maybe I'm a little off script here, Dan, but I just got thinking about some of the businesses that we work with that are maybe really unique. We've got a reptile farm down in Florida. So if you've been into a pet store in the last 20 years, there's a high probability that if you saw a snake or a lizard or a frog, it came from reptile industries. We've got some defense organizations, government stuff, prisons and school systems and things like that. We've got heart valve
Prisons.
manufacturers.
Wait a minute. Do they keep track of the inmates that way?
They're outside the United States, so no judgment passed on how laws work. But
Fishbowl's getting crazy. They're like, we put a barcode on everybody in prison, and we inventory the hell out of them.
we can inventory just about everything. So.
People, children.
Yeah,
Cool.
however it goes. If you've got stuff and a need to track it, we're there. We're really focused on the manufacturing side of it. So I think that's where a lot of our customers are at. They build in some way. And whether it's simple or complex, we've got solutions that fit it all. But some good things there around just managing and making sure it all flows back into QuickBooks. So we'll talk a lot more about that today.
Yeah, certainly appreciate you joining us here from that side of the house. For those of you, hopefully us have been here before, but for those of you maybe joining us for the first time, we do have some updates on the QB Power Hour webinar series. We are working at categorizing our. My TV just went flitzed on the script. Little glitch there. We are looking to categorize a lot of our topics into quarterly events. This one is take it to the limit, right? Where you can enhance your QuickBooks experience with the inventory management, because as Sharon astutely pointed out on my LinkedIn post, when I said QuickBooks tracks inventory until it doesn't, she was like, no.
No, don't lie. It does not. Anyhow.
It does fit a need, but it doesn't fit all needs. And that's why we hit that ceiling sometimes, and we need something like Fishbowl.
At this point, Dan, I feel like now I'm just trying to make Intuit mad. So I think I'm beyond the, like, let's be real. And now I'm like, nope, I'm done.
So our agenda today, we're going to talk a little bit about something, hopefully, that doesn't disturb Sharon and send her into a tizzy again. But
no, I'm okay.
We'll be talking about a locking parent accounts, which is something that is relatively new for QuickBooks Online. And then we'll dive into the bowl. We'll tap the glass, so to speak, for Fishbowl. We'll talk about what Fishbowl is, some of the inventory management workflows, and inventory management in the cloud, and talk about some of those core definitions of inventory management and what Fishbowl can do. So let's launch our first poll question, which is, which version of QuickBooks do you support your clients with primarily? Which would be QuickBooks Online, QuickBooks Desktop, or both, and if you do others as well. But let's talk about Intuit news and updates of locking accounts and locking parent accounts. Is that something, Sharon, that really bugs
I love
you
it.
when?
I love it. I'm actually so excited about that. So I actually went in and did some bookkeeping this past week. And when I added things in, as I added them, it's like, would you like to lock the parent account? I'm like, yes, I would. Yes, I would. It asked me every time I coded something that went to like a parent, it asked me, and I'm sorry, that's awesome. I wish that was there forever ago. Nothing drives me more nuts than when there's like money sitting in the parent account, because I'm really OCD. Some people actually use the parent account and the subs. Weird. Don't do that. No, I love it. This is a good feature. They did this one right.
Yeah. So the challenge, of course, is that when you start with an account on your chart of accounts, and then you add subs to it, sometimes there's some historical transactions that are going to get posted to that parent account, and then you've got the sub account, and it just looks as far as like reporting wise, when you're seeing the hierarchy of the parent and the sub accounts, things that are posted directly to the parent account show as a dollar amount in there, and then it doesn't necessarily itemize those things out, so you can really make comparisons, right? Is that really the problem that occurs when you have that hierarchy, Sharon?
Yeah, and it just looks ugly. I just don't like it. I'm OCD, right? Yeah, I mean, you drop it down. What's the point of having a paragraph? You gotta throw things in it. Yeah, no, it's been, I was also answering a question right when you asked that. No, it definitely, yes.
Yeah. So when you have like get an example here of like website expenses,
Yep.
and then under that domains, website hosting, and WordPress plugins are sub accounts. A lot of times people will just put things to website expenses, and then
Yep.
on the profit and loss or whatever report that is, you'll see this hodgepodge or mixture of
Yeah.
into the parent. So what you're able
And then
to
what's
do now,
AI going to do, Dan? How will AI know to properly tell you how to advise your clients?
exactly, when you've got a mix signals there. So when you edit an account, you can lock it. There's
Buckets.
a little padlock listed there, and then what that will do is it will gray out that account from drop down. So mistakenly, things won't get put into those parent accounts. Bank rules that post to that account will stop running. Wow, that's that's pretty end to end, thinking where the bank rules will stop running that are posted to that account. Bank feeds will stop predicting that account, so it won't be suggesting to put things into that account when you have it locked. But third parties, if you do have them mapped to that parent account, they will still post because you don't want to be interruptive to an integration that you might be having.
It will?
It'll
lock if you're doing things in Intuit, but if something else comes in, I would assume it would like air it out, make you go fix it. Kind of like when a Zap doesn't work, right? But it doesn't. It pulls it through.
Yeah. It'll still post to that parent account. So if you see things that are posting to it, then that could be a potential surprise. Things to
Also, it prompted me, Dan. I didn't even have to. It prompted me. I didn't have to go in and manually lock anything. It's like, hey, would you like to? Yes or no? And I thought that was really. I mean, everybody loves pop-ups, but in this situation, I do.
Yeah, it was actually a helpful pop-up. Because a lot of times we get into pop-up fatigue.
Right?
Yes, I know that message. I didn't even read it. And you can lock multiple accounts from the chart of accounts.
Yeah.
So if you go to the chart of accounts and you just select a bunch, you can lock them right there. There's a link to the article about locking accounts in the slides there. All right. So let's talk about our main topic today is about the catch of the day.
Okay, to tap the glass. That's cute.
So Kendrick and I were talking a little bit right before we launched here, and a thought occurred to me earlier today that Fishbowl and the accounting community kind of have a similar track record when it comes to working with Intuit and QuickBooks, right? Because when I was there, and I was there at the launch of QuickBooks Desktop Enterprise, right? So this is back in 2002. There was no flavors of QuickBooks Desktop Enterprise. It was just QuickBooks Enterprise. And then for the advanced inventory management functions, Intuit had partnered with Fishbowl. And that was for people that needed more inventory management components or workflows. Adding on Fishbowl to that was the recommendation, right? So Fishbowl has been a longtime partner with QuickBooks, but over the course of the years since then, you have seen a lot of the same functionality that's in Fishbowl show up in QuickBooks, right? So they have a similar not thought process, but track record of, hey, wait a minute, we're doing that. What are you doing putting it into your product over the course of the years? But still, Fishbowl finds a way to partner with the same company that is encroaching on the things that they are doing as their core functions. So Kendrick, you want to talk a little bit about how Fishbowl has been able to rise above Intuit shenanigans, for lack of a better word.
It's been an interesting 25 years. Dan, as you're talking about that, so I joined Fishbowl in 2007. My wife actually worked here ahead of me, so I was familiar with what was happening with Intuit, and thinking back in those days, like '03. There was actually a period where a bunch of our engineers went and worked for Intuit, and that kind of started them down that path. I don't know how much I'm supposed to share here, but whatever the statute of limitations is, I'm sure it's expired on that piece. To your point, though, there's so much overlap and this delicate balance in the Intuit ecosystem, and when we're competing and complementing one another in some instances. So to see the journey, especially over the last few years, that the accounting community has gone through. We can certainly relate in maybe an adjacent way to what's happening there. And to your point, what does it look like, and how do we stay there? We initially back in '03 had those features, and Intuit was recommending Fishbowl, and then they kind of worked into that position of having some assembly capabilities and things like that. Another time, in I think 2013, 2014, as they pushed more enterprise capabilities and more assembly capabilities, and repeatedly there have been those scenarios, and the same thing's happening right now today with Intuit Enterprise Suite. And so not just with what Fishbowl's experience with Intuit Enterprise Suite, but what the accounting community is facing with the advisory services and all the other things going on. And what we've learned over the years is, first and foremost, we want to be complementary to what's happening. It is a moving target. For better or for worse, though, as long as we can stay ahead of what Intuit's doing and create innovation and value and have those good services, we have a lot of customers that are still needing both what Intuit provides alongside what Fishbowl does. And I think the same is true in the accounting community, is that as you can find ways to differentiate and add value and take care of your clients, there's always something you can do better than what they're offering, even if it's just the level of service and willingness that you have to jump in. And Dan and Sharon both have great examples of tool sets and different ways that help you be more efficient and impactful for your clients. I think that at the end of the day is really what makes the difference in so many engagements with clients.
Yeah, definitely similar track records in ancillary, industries, as we are all kind of trying to navigate, a lot of these changes over the next few years, right? So QuickBooks is really, as you say here on this slide, QuickBooks tells you what happened financially, but Fishbowl really tells you what's happening operationally. And we had kind of talked about this in the past, and we were mentioning it as well, like the analogy of driving a car, right? QuickBooks is really good at the rear view mirror. Like, where have I been? How much taxes do I need to pay? Payroll taxes, sales tax. What have I done, right? And those reports are designed to reflect that, so that you can look out the windshield and drive forward, right? But where Fishbowl, and especially in inventory management, you really want to be looking out the windshield so that you're driving forward, because you could have, you certainly don't want to end in a ditch or things like that. So talk about, the core functionality of Fishbowl, of where you're going to be looking in that windshield.
Yeah, and I love that analogy because so many clients end up in the ditch. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, I need inventory manufacturing software. That's not a compelling thing.
I did today.
You may have it on the accounting side on behalf of your clients, but a lot of business owners, they just skip right over that bit. And a lot of times I think it's because when they get started, everything's fine, right? They can handle it either in their head or on a quick spreadsheet, or sometimes even in QuickBooks. But they reach a breaking point, and the good businesses recognize it before they end up in the ditch. And most businesses, even if they're typically good, it's not their first focus, because a lot of them are the growing SMBs, or they've just brought on a new product line, or some catalyst event has occurred, and now all of a sudden they're underwater and they don't know what to do. It usually manifests in a way of they have a really pissed off customer that they're about to lose, or they just had a stock out that's going to impact them for 12 weeks, or pick some variation of that. Things didn't go good, and now they're trying to get it back on the track. And so we talked to a lot of businesses who, most of them don't come right out and say that in call number one. But eventually it comes out, sometimes in implementation, where, hey, here's actually the problem we have to solve for, because if we don't, it's going to continue to wreck our business. And I get asked all the time, well, what does Fishbowl actually do? I can't count the number of times that an accountant's locked up at a conference, or that I've engaged with a prospect, and like, I've heard of Fishbowl, but what is it? First off, it's a weird name, and the backstory, I won't go too far down that road, but our lead developer back in the early days hated the name, and I think that's why it stuck. The impetus behind it, though, is that you should be able to see what's going on in the business from every angle. Now, as Dan, you mentioned, we were kind of born out of necessity working with QuickBooks. So the vision and viewpoint has always been to inform the accountant, the bookkeeper, the CPA, the advisory firm, as well as the CEO and operators, of what's going on in the business. And so from that viewpoint, Fishbowl makes a little more sense, because you should be able to see everything your clients are doing. Back to the question, though, of what does Fishbowl actually do? In a simple sentence, we help people track stuff. And that maybe is overly simplistic, but the reality is, whether it's a product-based business that's selling on Shopify, that gets stuff on the shelf and it needs to get out the door, or maybe it's not even on their shelf, it's in the hands of a 3PL or co-packer. If they need to be able to track what that stuff is, we really help manage. It can also be service-based businesses. So, they may not be product-oriented, but we work with a lot of companies that they go out and do service work on HVAC systems, or water filtration, or all across the board. If there's stuff in a van that you need to know where that's going or who's using it, Fishbowl can be a good tool there too to help track all that stuff.
And as we kind of talk about, does QuickBooks track inventory? When we categorize, where your stuff is and what do you need, QuickBooks Online is fair for I buy that stuff and I sell that same stuff. But some of these things that are up on this slide about like multi-location tracking, bill of materials, work orders, the traceability, manufacturing, and taking that raw material and turning it into different stuff to sell, and those types of things is really where you need to look at, some other tool to manage all that stuff, right?
Yeah, whether it's in QuickBooks or even a spreadsheet or a notepad, there's certainly a time where a less complex solution is meaningful and fits what the client does. If we've got somebody who just sells 3 widgets and they have that down pat, they probably don't need Fishbowl. It's going to be overkill for them, unless you start talking about some of the components that go into that. So we've got a client that they literally have 3 SKUs. However, each of those 3 SKUs are made up of hundreds of components that go into them. And they have serialization tracking on everything that they do. So they, as it turns out, build flight control systems for jets. If you don't have any clients in the space, believe it or not, the FAA is really particular about everything. So for them, even though they have 3 SKUs, they've got to record every component that comes in, every serial number that goes on, how everything gets put together, and then they have to maintain the traceability of these things for like 25 years. So if they sold something in 2006, they're still liable to the FAA, even if that customer sold the jet off to somebody else. It could have changed hands 10 times. If their serial number goes into it, they have to trace it. So that's a burden to carry, and a great example of where some advanced inventory management come in. Now that's probably one of the most extreme examples I've heard, but the reality is, even if they're just a food manufacturer, lock codes and expiry dates are something that the FDA maintains, and so we really come in and add that next level of clarity. So you've got a client that's selling food and beverage. Well, now you've got to deal with 21 CRF Part 11 for the FDA. And if you're not an expert in that, it's overwhelming. And we love the folks at QuickBooks, but a lot of them aren't geared toward speaking to that as well. And so that's really where Fishbowl comes in to help with that next level of detail, whether it's the FDA, the FAA, DOT. We deal with a lot of chemicals companies and material data safety sheets, and pick an acronym, and there's usually an aspirin that needs to go with it. And that's really where we start to see clients that struggle when they're just using QuickBooks or that spreadsheet system or some other tools out there that don't allow for that.
Yeah. And we have some resources, nothing as detailed as what Kendrick talked about over at School of Bookkeeping, where it's more of like the shallow end of the pool for inventory management, as far as getting familiar with some of the terminology. We have a blog on tracking inventory inside of QBO. We have some advanced inventory features that are in desktop that you can review, those types of things, as well as we did an advanced inventory workshop series that you can see that comparison between something inside of desktop and a cloud-based inventory solution. And we do have an inventory fundamentals course that you can review at your own pace, right? So one of my biggest concerns or confusions, because I am easily confused, is the different tiers or different flavors of Fishbowl. So can you talk a little bit about what, you're venturing into a cloud-based full solution, and then you have a kind of like a hosted online solution as well. So talk a little bit about the different solutions that you have in the Fishbowl platform.
Yeah, it's a great question, Dan. And candidly, we need to do a better job at helping everybody understand kind of where we fit and sit. So maybe walking backwards into that question, we're similar to the Intuit ecosystem in that we provide both desktop and cloud. We've been around since 2001, and at that point, cloud didn't exist. So we certainly started out with an on-prem solution. To your point, we then offered a hosting capability, so we can take Fishbowl and QuickBooks and put them in a cloud environment, and you can access them through a web portal. And then we do have a cloud solution, so comparable to QuickBooks Desktop and QuickBooks Online is kind of where we sit from a product operating standpoint. So we're similar in that way. Where we are dissimilar to a degree is how and where we deploy Advanced, which is our desktop solution, and Inventory, which is our cloud product. QuickBooks obviously is leaning heavily, almost exclusively into the cloud product. Enterprise still has a place, but it's dwindling by the day, and we are not to the point of pushing everybody to have to get to the cloud just yet. And there are a few reasons for that. One is that we have a segment of our customer base who are still hesitant to go to the cloud in the manufacturing space, and then in defense and government and some of those places where they still prefer or need on-prem. But generally speaking, we are leading with our cloud products ahead of our desktop, and then using that desktop as kind of the backup plan when you need something particular. So a little more context around that. Fishbowl Inventory, our cloud product, it provides real-time multi-location tracking, the serial and lock control, expiry date traceability we talked about, order management. It's all browser-based, easy to use. And so for SaaS companies, they want anywhere access, they want fast updates, they want a low IT lift. We're going to be perfectly aligned to QBO. There's another element here too, which is we try to match whatever the accounting system of record is. So if a business comes in and they're still on desktop, we'll be able to connect in and utilize that. Now, in a moment, we can talk more about the bridging capabilities that allow customers to start with desktop and then move over. But that's one of the elements that determines whether we go cloud or on-prem is what they're currently using for their accounting package. Doesn't mean they're locked into it, and I'll come back to that in a minute. But if they're using QBO, then our cloud is certainly something we want to go to. The exception to that would be for some really complex bill of materials work. If they need to have some deep on-prem tools, or if they're in highly complex or highly regulated environments, then on-prem still may be a fit. More and more, though, our cloud product is really the kind of the go-forward plan. The good news is it's shared DNA across both systems. So it's the same inventory manufacturing engine, same QuickBooks integration, the same trusted Fishbowl backbone. There's not a forced replatforming. Customers can move to cloud on their timeline if they start on advanced, or run forward with that if that's where they end up out the gate.
Yeah, which now we have the confusion of QuickBooks Online Advanced is a cloud-based product, and Fishbowl Advanced is a desktop product.
There is a little bit of that. We just like to keep people on their toes.
Yeah, and doing a great job of it. Now, this one is a really nice slide or depiction of where you do workflows and what. It's a lot to do because there is typically a lot to do, a lot of specific workflows to do inside of, to thoroughly, track your inventory and manage your inventory. But talk about the integration between QuickBooks and Fishbowl.
And this is so pretty. I love this flow chart.
I mean, full disclosure, Sharon, this is actually Intuit.
Damn it!
And they built.
They're allowed one
compliment
compliment from me per month, and I already gave it today. We're over.
And I just burned it, didn't I?
Well, they did good.
Yeah, they did do good because I think we rely on this a lot because it paints a good picture, right? It helps people understand how do things fit together when you stand Fishbowl up. That's one of the biggest uncertainties that a lot of businesses and a lot of accountants have is when I introduce this thing, how's it going to mess up my chart of accounts? And the short version is it shouldn't. No system, Fishbowl included, should ever make things worse. And the reality is a lot of them do. So we like to rely on this because, first off, Intuit built it and we kind of collaborated back to what is the true hand in glove approach for Fishbowl and QuickBooks to be together. Now, this was built specifically for the IES product, but the reality is QBO works the same way. There are just a few nuances in feature limitations, like IES has dimension capability, and we've integrated to that and can send those things over. When we think through, though, the big pieces from an operational standpoint, it's sales, it's purchasing, it's inventory and manufacturing. And that's what's represented here is what do I do in Fishbowl? And then what am I moving over, and how and where does QuickBooks or IES pick up the baton? Everything on the operational front, raising orders from marketplaces. So if you're selling or have clients that are on Amazon or eBay or Shopify or BigCommerce or Etsy or Woo, or that list is hundreds of connections long. Wherever those orders are coming from, they all end up in Fishbowl as a sales order that needs to be picked and packed and shipped out the door. And then depending on whether it was paid on a marketplace or phoned in and needs a follow-up invoice, what we send to QuickBooks or to IES is going to follow suit and allow for the invoicing, payment receipt, and recording the deposit over on that side. The same is true in the purchasing flow. And like the analogy, the windshield piece is really the most important element for a lot of businesses, because demand planning and knowing what to buy and how that's going to impact cash flow if I bring in another container of goods for the business, and tariffs and fuel surcharges and all those other things that so many people are just flying blind to, all become part of the equation so that you can really understand what your landed costs are. You can really know what your COGS should be and what your margins look like for that client who maybe has struggled to understand how to just enter a bill on time. Fishbowl helps automate and facilitate what do I need to buy, when do I need to buy it, and then what are the downstream impacts of that. So from the bill, making payment, and visibility on the GL is ultimately what we're getting to.
Yeah, and this just seems like almost like the tip of the iceberg, because as you were talking through some of these workflows, I'm thinking like, how far does Fishbowl go into the sales process, right? Because if they've got a team of salespeople, for example, that aren't concerned about the day-to-day movement of inventory management, other than can I sell it? How well does that work in Fishbowl, and when is there like a ceiling of what Fishbowl can do in that, where they have to, or do you integrate with CRMs and other tools like that, so that the people affecting the inventory movement but don't need to know all the minutia of the inventory movement can feed into that and just continue to use their technology?
Yeah, great question. So we certainly have integrations with a variety of tools, CRM solutions and the like, that can help in that, if that's what the business is doing. So if they're running sales ops through Salesforce or HubSpot or Zoho or whatever, certainly we can connect in. We also handle a lot of that through the various tools that we offer in Fishbowl. It's funny, as you talk about, the only thing a sales guy cares about is, can they sell it? I went to visit a customer the other week, and he said the best sales rep is the one that has it in stock. And truer words have never been spoken. The reality is most sales reps don't care about whether it's in stock or not. They just want to know, can I sell it? But behind that, they've got to be able to fulfill, or they're not going to be able to satisfy the customer. And so Fishbowl becomes a really empowering solution for them, because they can with confidence say, hey, yeah, I can sell you this many, or that ability to promise these will be in stock on the 13th of July. I can place the order now and secure those and have them delivered by X date. And that available to promise is something that's really empowering for a salesperson. Now, as far as sales channels go, we see so many different ways. And there was a marked change in 2020 with COVID, because so many manufacturers were only doing things a certain way. And then, post 2020, we're seeing folks that they've got a website, they're selling through distributor networks, they have an affiliates program, they offer dealers that pick a flavor if there's a way to get the product out there, and tools to do it along the way. A lot of that needs to be brought in. And so we've got an open API that connects into all sorts of things. We've got, canned integrations for e-commerce sites. We've got a sales portal that will allow customers to give their customers a login and enter orders that way. We can email orders in, lots of flavors of how orders come through. And the reality is most businesses want to be able to accept all of those methods, but it all has to be simple so that they can get things out the door and have a common way of saying, this order just came in, so now we need to update the inventory. If I've got a dealer network and there's 50 folks out there that are all trying to place an order, and I've only got one widget left on the shelf, the moment it sells, the 49 who didn't get it need to be aware, or now you're dealing with customer expectations and short ships and all of the things that are not good for inventory-based businesses.
Excellent. All right, so let's launch our second poll question of how deep do you support clients with inventory? Because when I worked at Intuit, this aspect of the workflow management for clients, it was a disclaimer when I would hear these calls. Well, I don't really do inventory, right? Like they seem to run screaming from from clients who are managing inventory, because it just adds more.
Did you write these questions? Did you write these answers?
I did.
Okay, good job.
Thank you.
It's funny though, there are a lot that we talk to that they run screaming from clients managing inventory. And I'm always curious about that, whether it's the businesses themselves or they haven't found a good tool or what it may be. I happen to marry into a family of an accountants. My father-in-law, mother-in-law, and sister-in-law are all CPAs. My wife is not. She's a small business owner and say the creative mind in the family. But they all really don't enjoy inventory and manufacturing, and I've never been able to figure out exactly why. Sharon, any insight there?
Yeah, like who wants to sit around the Thanksgiving table and talk about this? It's terrible. In fact, I'm wondering, I can't decide if your holidays are the most boring holidays ever or they're wild.
Oh, they're wild.
Inventory is crazy. It's just I don't know.
I think there's no standard, right? Like it's from business to business. You can have two different needs or workflows, or it's not, because you mentioned, Kendrick, like, maybe they start small and then they get to a point where it's unscalable, and then they find something else that might work, and maybe it's this hodgepodge of workflows, and by the time you're introduced to them, it's trying to peel back those layers of the onion to get to the core of what it is that they're actually needing to do. And you compare that to the next person, they've got a completely different set of workflows that have worked for them, but maybe don't work for them today.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you bring that up. Accounting has rules and standards and logic. And where we try to intersect is that while so many businesses have unique workflows and crazy processes and maybe gaps, ultimately, if you start with what are the standards and the rules that we need to hit, you can work into how do I need to do that from an operational standpoint. And I think that's where so many solutions miss is they provide a tool that maybe is really flexible, but doesn't think through being gap compliant and allowing for business to capture what really needs to happen in the landed cost process. And so we spend a lot of energy here at Fishbowl and during our implementation phase, kind of marrying those up and making sure that the outcome always in the rearview mirror lands in the geo like it needs to, and then the operations mirror that forward so that we can be successful each day and with evolution. And it's a moving target, right? The road changes, and people who weren't manufacturing, now all of a sudden they bring it in-house, or they add new products that are different, or whatever it may be. It helps them though when they have kind of that framework that they can rely on what good looks like.
Yeah, and looking at the results of this second poll question, the majority, 55% of you, said my client handles the day-to-day, we handle the finances. Which when they're working in the day-to-day and maybe in a tool or process that is integrated with the finances, that integration can certainly bleed into a lot of scope creep, I think, in that you get a little bit more intimate with their processes of the day-to-day, so that your processes of handling the finances piece of that ends up being a smoother process. And we're going to talk about how Fishbowl in a few slides here of how Fishbowl can help you manage that relationship or that component between those two. But let's talk about inventory management in the cloud, right? So one of the things that I appreciate about Fishbowl, because you have a desktop product and you have an online product, and you're agnostic to where that is as far as the QuickBooks piece of that. You have an interesting way or an interesting option for people who are moving to the cloud for their QuickBooks, right? So talk a little bit about the different options that Fishbowl has as far as inventory management with moving to the cloud or just using the cloud services.
Yeah, this has been kind of a fun journey and something that we're co-developing with Intuit to a degree. It really started out of necessity with a conversation that turned into several and has now turned into hundreds, where businesses have been kind of digging their heels in with desktop. They don't want to leave enterprise. And if you have any enterprise clients, you may be familiar with this. And some of the accountants we work with, they're happy to dig their heels in alongside their clients for various reasons. And no judgment passed. And like you said, we're agnostic. But in other cases, desktop has become the bane of an accountant's existence, and they just are trying to get folks to get off of enterprise and move over to QBO for various reasons, convenience and cost and visibility and AI tools that are coming online and all the things. And wherever you may fall in that scope and spectrum of desktop to QBO, one of the really empowering things that we've been able to unlock for desktop users and for accountants that support is a bridging function. And what I mean by that is for customers who are using desktop, a lot of times they don't feel confident to go to QBO because of a missing feature or function. And that could be, obviously the core things that we run into, like inventory management and multi-location and traceability and, all pick, pack, ship processes, assemblies and manufacturing, all those standard things. But it's also reporting and its permissions and its visibility. And, there's some other components there that may work into that. We actually have a handful of folks that aren't even inventory based. They're doing service work, but using Fishbowl because it enabled their clients to get off of desktop. And the cool part about it is because Fishbowl can connect in to QBO or QBD, we created this bridging function that effectively looks like I start by standing up Fishbowl. I pull all the information in from desktop, and then at my leisure, I can point it from desktop to QBO, and that's about a 20-minute process to just change gears from desktop to QBO. So for those who are wanting to get off, it's an enabling function because it pulls out what desktop was doing and supplements that with Fishbowl filling those gaps for QBO. Really, it becomes a good progression path for those that want to go not just to QBO, but also to IES where applicable for multi-entity consolidation and any other features they may be looking at. And it's not as scary as it used to be. Mind you, there's still a fair bit of work anytime you're moving from desktop to QBO, but we help build that bridge in a way that makes it really simple. And then you can make it a two-step process as well. So maybe we stand Fishbowl up in October, November timeframe, and then by the time January rolls around, they're comfortable to get off of desktop and move over to QBO for the beginning of year cutoff. We saw a lot of that this last year.
Now I'm going to preface and throw a disclaimer. This next slide is really hard to read, but it shows and illustrates the phased approach that you were just talking about, of how you go about assessing what they do, offload a lot of those workflows into Fishbowl, and then with the final destination being in a cloud environment, right? So it's not seamless, right? That's a trigger word for me. When somebody says, hey, this is that instant process. You mentioned, it only takes 20 minutes. No, it's not 20. It's not 20 minutes from start to finish. It's 20 minutes for that step, maybe.
Yeah, that one piece is 20 minutes. There's preparation that goes into that for sure.
Yeah. So down at the bottom, you have here 3 to 4 weeks total, is just to kind of give a framework of how long it would actually take to transition to the cloud. But I like the stair-stepping approach where you offload some of those core functionalities from QuickBooks Desktop into Fishbowl, and then they get familiar using that process, and then you can work on the migration to QuickBooks Online, and then at some point you'll be able to just flip it over, right?
Yeah, and apologies for the wall of words here, but I think there's a subheader that goes into all of this as well, which is that Fishbowl will meet you where you're at. So that like the slide shows, there's a lot going on, and we found that different engagements, even with the same firm, may not always look the same. And so one of the things that we've learned to do over the years is to be dynamic in this phased approach and to collaborate with you and your client on where and how we can lift. In some cases, that looks like we jump in and do all of the implementation. So that 3 to 4 week period, we're the point person and we keep you informed. In other cases, you may want to be in that driver's seat, and we're supporting you as the inventory and manufacturing experts on your team, or any variation of that. And that's I think what is fun. One of the things that sets us apart, though, is that all of our implementation can happen in-house. We're not trying to chase that out to another third party, or to tell you that you've got to go learn a bunch of things before your client can be successful with inventory manufacturing. Again, we're there to meet you where you want to be and to engage. And even if one time you've got a client you want to work really closely with, and the next time you want us to just handle it, we're happy to go that road.
So those people that answered the poll question where you run screaming from inventory, this is something that you can completely offload, to the Fishbowl team, and they handle the soup to nuts part of getting that implemented for you, so that you can just do what you do best and manage the finances part of that, or those people that where the client handles the day-to-day. You can choose your own adventure, I guess, is the way that you interact or work with Fishbowl. It's not just one size fits all, right?
Yep. Love that choose your own adventure.
All right. So let's talk about some of the customers or use cases of Fishbowl.
Yeah, we've got a couple of case studies I wanted to share real quick, because I think they tell the story well in context. The first one is a group called Sabin Carbon. They've been with Intuit for a number of years, and they struggled a lot. They're located in Southern California, which is kind of the mecca for fast cars with carbon fiber all over them, and they've done really well as a business. But their back office was struggling a lot, to the point that they had back orders on almost everything that went out the door. A lot of things that they'd have one of the components but not the others, or that they had to wait and keep their customers waiting for components coming in. So we had a chance to go visit them and get them set up and running with Fishbowl, Intuit Enterprise Suite, and then Avalara. The other big problem that they had was, they're dealing with auto shops and mechanics and shipping direct, and they could never get sales tax right. It was just always a struggle for them. They're big enough and they've been around long enough that Nexus is a problem for them in lots of states. And so just between the back orders and the tax mess, it was overwhelming. And Faye, the founder, she's incredible, but she wasn't sleeping at night because she was dealing with taxes and back orders. When they stood Fishbowl up literally within weeks, they had a 73% reduction in back orders. And since that time, they've been able to grow into multiple warehouses. They literally are finishing up their taxes at the click of a button with Avalara's automation tools. And she's excited about what she does again. She was really excited. A lot of founders get thrilled about their business, and then it overwhelms them. They grow, and the growth becomes painful. And phase back to the point that she can smile about what she's created instead of worrying about taxes and inventory. So pretty cool story to see how it all came together. We've got a case study on our website that I think we'll drop a link to, and you can see more about that.
Yeah. Beer. Let's talk about beer.
Let's talk about beer. This is a fun topic. If you've never seen bottoms up beer, go Google it or Bing it or whatever your flavor is, AI it. This company is really changing the game. They've developed a system that allows for beer to be filled from the bottom up. So the next time you're sitting at the bar and you look over at the bartender, watch how much product goes down the drain, literally. And the accountant part of you probably cringes from here on out when you see how much waste there is in filling the beer. The head flows over and it's a mess. And this team have developed the coolest way to go about filling beer. So for 2,000 years, we've all had beer poured the same way, and now it's different, and that's really fun. While it is a bit of a novelty, it's also really valuable.
Oh, is this the beer company? It's where you can go. When you get a drink, they put the cup in and it goes up from the top.
Yep,
it's like magic.
It is like magic.
I'm like watching like some David Copperfield stuff when that happens. I'm like, is it the cup? How are you doing this?
Yeah, so it turns out there's a magnet in the bottom of the cup or whatever the vessel is, pitcher, cups, whatever. They set it on, the valve opens up and it fills it to a predetermined level. We actually went to one of the bars down the street from where Bottoms Up's located there in Indianapolis. And the gal that was working bartender, she said she can fill 12 pints of beer in the time it used to take her to do one. And that's amazing. From a labor standpoint.
I want to see a video. I don't know that I believe that, but I want to see that. I can be convinced that she's not lying through her teeth, but I want to see that video.
There's a video on the website. You'll get a small clip of that. It's incredible. So they got a lot of growth pretty quickly, and they went right to NetSuite. And nothing against NetSuite, but they were spending $12K a month just on the subscription plus consultants to hold it all together. And it was a mess. And then COVID hit and all the bars closed down, and they're dying. And they found Fishbowl and QBO, and they had the same problem with Saban with Avalara as well. They've been able to really turn the business around. They're selling more than they ever have. Their team size is half of what it used to be, and their revenue is quadruple where it was at. Their spend is not what it used to be. And, for them, it's fun because they have this philosophy as a company to be 1% better every day. And so they're always trying to find the next thing. We've worked with them for a number of years now, and every quarter there's a new initiative for them to focus in on. And Fishbowl just keeps giving them new things to do and new ways to be more efficient, from auto purchasing to better reporting, AI tools that we've introduced, so many things that are helping their business really expand and grow out. Their goal was to take over the industry in its entirety. And then we've already seen a huge jump forward. But if you haven't seen this yet, go check out a Taco Bell Cantina, or I think that Aria might have one, Sharon, if you wander down that way.
I am actually I'm at Park MGM right now, but I will be at the Aria today.
There we go. So go check out Bottoms Up Beer.
That's those are pretty amazing case studies and some of the commonalities. And I think with that second poll question of why, a lot of people run screaming from inventory is inventory means sales tax. And, if you don't like sales tax without hard goods and products to sell, it gets exponentially more complicated when you're dealing with the types of, it's not just one size fits all. I mean, we had Avalara on the Power Hour talking about the various sales tax rules that exist across the country. It's not just, is it taxable and what's the sales tax rate? It's what is it, when is it you're selling it, who you're selling it to, all of those things. So do you integrate directly with Avalara, or is it something that sits on top of QuickBooks, or is it both?
Great question. It is both, but a lot of times we're doing the integration directly. And the thing I love about it is Avalara does all the heavy lifting for that sales tax. So when they go in to figure and calculate a rate, you need to know, where is it shipping from? Where is it shipping to? What are the items? What are the codes? Well, Fishbowl has all that detail. That's the easy stuff for us. Where we really appreciate our partnership with Avalara is they give us the what, why, and how based on where it's shipping from, where it's shipping to, and what it all is. And it's really simple for Bottoms Up and for Saban both. They were drowning in just the mess of sales tax compliance, and there's not a lot to show in Fishbowl or in Avalara. When we integrate, it just works. And that's the beauty of it. It is the simplicity that you connect your Avalara account into Fishbowl, and now all of a sudden you've got the right tax rate for the right order. It's super great.
I imagine, the heavy lifting is up front, is the implementation. And once you've gotten it implemented, then it's more of a cruise control. Going back to the car analogy, things are on cruise control until there is a change that needs to be addressed in either of those two things.
Yeah, we won't say seamless, Dan, but it is
right. Thank you.
Cruise control.
That's right. Yeah, it's lane assist instead of that. We do.
You know, my car has lane assist, and it tries to throw me into the damn median all the time. I'm like, Mercedes, stop trying to kill me, but it does all the time. We had to turn it off, so I don't trust it. That's for a topic for another day.
Well, then when we talk about people versus robots.
There we go. That's coming up.
Yeah. You want to launch the last poll question while we're wrapping up here? So if you do want to learn more, there's email addresses and websites to go to here. We have our last poll question. We can put you in touch with the folks over at Fishbowl to learn more about that. And next time, after we get back from Scaling New Heights and wherever Sharon will be next, we'll be talking about people versus robots.
That is right. I'm excited.
Yeah, and I think
as I just talked about my car trying to kill me.
Yeah, but it's ultimately it's people working with robots and vice versa, right? So how do we navigate this next week or next time?
How do we not end up in the median?
Exactly. Well, Kendrick,
and guys, thanks. For once, I'm gonna drive this one for once. Yeah. Dan gets to take a back seat while I make a deck and everything. So that'll be
exciting,
fun. Right?
Kendrick, thanks again for joining us today. Any closing thoughts as we close out the Power Hour today?
I just want to say thanks for the opportunity to be with you. For those who are scared of inventory, let's have a chat, and would love to collaborate and partner with y'all.
All right. Well, we will see you next time on the QB Power Hour, and hope everybody has a great day. Thanks so much for tuning in to the QB Power Hour podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to support our amazing sponsors. You'll find them listed on our homepage at qbpowerhour.com. And if you're getting value from the show, we'd love it if you left us a review wherever you get your podcasts. Your feedback helps us grow and reach more accounting pros just like you. Until next time, keep powering up your practice with QB Power Hour.